Okay, so picture this. You're at the starting line of a race. The engine's revving, your hands are gripping the wheel, the light turns green, and you just slam on the gas.
You're expecting it to be a tight contest, right? A real competition.
Exactly. You expect to be, trading paint with the other cars, fighting for that top spot.
Sure.
But instead, you look up, and the person in first place isn't just ahead of you. They're on a different part of the track. They are literally lapping you, waving from the finish line while you're still on the first turn.
I have a feeling we're not just talking about my terrible driving skills here.
We are definitely not. We are talking about the absolute juggernaut that is Mario Kart World.
Okay.
We're doing a deep dive today into the latest numbers from Nintendo. We've got their financial earnings report through December 31st, 2025, and some really sharp analysis from Game Informer. And honestly, the numbers are kind of melting my brain.
It's a fascinating data set. I mean, what we have here is a snapshot of a major transition period.
Right, the big console shift.
Exactly. And that's historically a very volatile time. We're looking at the new hardware, Switch 2, which launched back in summer 2025, and seeing how the software is shaking out. And your analogy, lapping the competition.
Yeah.
It's actually a very, very statistically accurate way to describe what's happening.
Right. I mean, we all knew Mario Kart was popular. It's Mario Kart. It's practically a utility at this point.
Of course.
But the gap between first place and everything else on this new console is what we really need to unpack. It's not just winning, it's rewriting the scoreboard.
It really is. And our mission today is to look past just the who won. Anyone can read a top 10 list.
Sure.
We want to understand what these sales figures tell us about the console's health, about consumer behavior, and, this tricky dance between the new Switch 2 and the massive legacy of the original Switch.
Exactly. We've got the numbers, the context, and some legitimate surprises, especially about a certain pink puffball we'll get to. But let's start at the top. The king, Mario Kart World.
The undisputed king.
So let's hit the headline number. Mario Kart World, the big launch title for the Switch 2. How many copies are we talking about here?
As of December 31st, 2025, Mario Kart World has sold 14.03 million units.
14 million.
Yep.
In just, roughly 6 months since the summer launch.
Correct. And to put that into perspective, that figure makes it the best-selling game on the Switch 2.
I would imagine so.
And the source material is very specific here. It's not even close.
That's the part that gets me. Not even close. Usually you see a launch lineup and maybe the top game is ahead by a million, a neck-and-neck race. But this is monumental.
It is statistically an outlier. The report notes that Mario Kart World is, and I'm quoting, far and away the best-selling software. But here's the stat that really frames it.
Okay.
It's beating the second-place game by roughly 10 million units.
Wait, hold on. Let me just process that. It's beating second place by 10 million.
10 million.
So the gap itself is bigger than the total sales of almost any other game.
Precisely. The margin of victory is larger than the total success of its competitors. It just dwarfs them.
Wow.
Now, if we really want to understand the ecosystem, we have to contextualize this. We have to look at why it's so high. And the source material points out a crucial detail.
Which is?
This 14.03 million figure includes units sold with the Switch 2 bundle.
Ah, right. The bundle. A classic console plus game box. So if you bought the console, you probably got the game whether you specifically asked for it or not.
Exactly. It was the marquee launch title. So in many ways, Mario Kart World became the default experience for the Switch 2.
Yeah.
If you were buying the system last summer, you were likely buying it to play Mario Kart. Or it just came with it. It became the killer app in the truest sense of the term.
It's like the standard issue equipment. You get the power cord, you get the controller, you get Mario Kart. It's almost like infrastructure rather than just software.
That's a great way to put it.
But still, even with a bundle, 14 million is a massive attach rate. It feels like almost everyone who has the new console has this game.
It suggests a near universal adoption among early adopters. And it creates this fascinating environment where Mario Kart World isn't just a game.
Right.
It's the shared language of the platform. You meet someone with a Switch 2, you don't ask, do you have Mario Kart? You ask, wanna play? Because you just assume they have it.
That's a really powerful position. But it also creates a bit of a shadow, doesn't it? If Mario Kart is sitting comfortably on the throne, miles ahead, who's fighting for the scraps? Who managed to snag the silver medal?
That would be Donkey Kong Bananza.
Okay, first of all, I love that title, Donkey Kong Bananza. It just sounds fun.
It's a strong title, and it put up strong numbers, objectively speaking. It launched in July, which was about a month after Mario Kart World.
So it missed that initial launch day hype by just a little bit. It had to stand on its own 2 feet more.
Right. And as of the end of the year, it has sold 4.25 million units.
See, this is where the context is crazy. If you just told me Nintendo released a new Donkey Kong and it sold 4.25 million copies in less than 6 months, I'd say, wow, huge hit. Break out the bananas.
And you would be right. It is a hit. In isolation, those are fantastic numbers.
But standing next to Mario Kart's 14 million, it looks small. It almost looks like a niche title.
That is the distortion effect of a mega hit.
Yeah.
You have to be careful not to let the outlier skew your perception of success. 4.25 million is a very healthy number. It secured the number 2 spot on the dedicated Switch 2 charts.
Yeah.
But it just highlights how much of an anomaly that 14 million figure really is.
It's like being the second tallest building in a city, but the first one is the Burj Khalifa. You're still a skyscraper, but...
But nobody's looking at you the same way. That's a great analogy. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
We have to talk about the game that's technically in 3rd place on the Switch 2, but it tells a much bigger story about the industry.
Oh, I think I know where you're going. We're talking about Pokemon, aren't we?
We are. Specifically, Pokémon Legends. ZA.
Okay, let's unpack this one, because the math here is a little more complicated than just reading a single number off a chart.
It is, because Pokémon Legends, ZA, is a cross-generation title.
Right, so it's on both the new Switch 2 and the original Switch. You've got 2 different buckets of players buying the exact same game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if we look strictly at the Switch 2 numbers, the new console sales, Pokémon Legends, ZA has sold 3.89 million units.
Which puts it just behind Donkey Kong. So 3rd place on the new hardware.
Correct. It's close behind Donkey Kong Bananza. But if you stop there, you miss the actual scale of this game. You have to look at the other bucket.
The original Switch sales.
Yeah.
The legacy console.
The one that everyone and their grandmother already owns. The one that's been in living rooms for nearly a decade.
Yep.
Precisely. On the original Switch Pokémon Legends, ZA sold 8.41 million units.
Whoa, wait, that's more than double what it sold on the new shiny console.
More than double, yes.
That is wild. Usually when a new console comes out, companies want to force you to upgrade. They say, you want the new game, you got to buy the new box. But here, the old version is outselling the new version 2 to 1.
It just speaks to the sheer size of that install base. There are over 100 million original Switch consoles out there.
Right.
So even if only a fraction of them buy the game, it's a massive number.
Yeah.
And when you combine the Switch 1 and Switch 2 sales...
What's the total?
The total sits at 12.3 million units sold.
12.3 million. Okay, so that puts it way past Donkey Kong.
Way past Donkey Kong. In fact, if you look at the total impact, it is, as the report says, closing in on Mario Kart World's total of 14 million.
That is fascinating. It really shows the power of that install base, doesn't it?
It really does.
Like the Switch 2 is exciting, it's new, the graphics are probably sharper, but millions of people are just perfectly happy playing Pokemon on the Switch they bought 5 years ago.
That's the bridge generation dynamic. Nintendo is playing a very smart, very calculated game here. Well, Mario Kart World is the engine driving new hardware sales. It's the exclusive reason to upgrade. But Pokémon is capitalizing on the massive existing audience.
So they get to double dip.
Exactly. They get the hardcore upgraders on the Switch 2 and the huge mass market on the Switch 1. It's a smart play. You don't leave 8 million sales on the table just to force an upgrade.
That's leaving money on the floor.
Precisely. And it hedges their risk. Even if the Switch 2 had a slow start, which it didn't, thanks to Mario Kart, they'd still have had a massive success with Pokémon on the old hardware.
Okay, so we had the king, Mario Kart. We have the solid runner-up, Donkey Kong, and the cross-gen giant Pokemon. But there's one more game in this report that caught my eye. It's sitting in 4th place, but there's something weird about the numbers.
Yes, you're looking at Kirby Air Riders.
Kirby Air Riders. I love Kirby. Who doesn't love Kirby? But break down the stats for me, because something unique is happening here.
So Kirby Air Riders launched very recently, relative to this report, November 20, 2025.
So it had only been on shelves for, what, 6 weeks when these numbers were counted?
Less than 3 months, yes. And in that short time, it sold 1.76 million units globally.
Okay. Respectable. Not Mario Kart numbers, but respectable for a game that just came out.
But here's the aha moment you mentioned. The report breaks down the geography.
Okay.
Roughly 900,000 of those units were sold in Japan alone.
Wait, do the math for me again. 1.76 million total. 900,000 in Japan?
Mm-hmm.
That's more than half.
It is. More than 50% of the sales came from one single region.
That is wild. Usually when we look at these global sales reports, you see North America or Europe dominating just by sheer population size. But Kirby is punching way above his weight in Japan.
It's a clear demonstration of regional IP strength. The report explicitly notes that it is clearly a hit there in Nintendo's home country. So while franchises like Mario and Pokémon are these global juggernauts that sell pretty evenly everywhere, Kirby has this incredibly dense, loyal following specifically in the domestic Japanese market.
It's kind of charming, actually. It's like the world loves Mario, but Japan really, really loves Kirby.
And for a game that launched in late November, hitting nearly 2 million with that kind of skew is impressive. It shows you don't always need a uniform global split to have a success. You can have a hometown hero.
So we've looked at the specific games, but I want to zoom out a bit. We've been throwing around Switch 2 and Switch 1 a lot. This report gives us a look at the overall health of the ecosystem, right?
It does, and this transition period is notoriously difficult for console makers. Moving an audience from a successful platform to a new one is the hardest thing in the industry.
Right.
But looking at the broader software numbers, the transition seems to be going quite smoothly.
Give me the big picture numbers. How's the new system actually doing in terms of total games sold?
So for the Switch 2, the new hardware-software sales totaled 37.93 million units.
Almost 38 million games. And remember, nearly 13 million of those are Mario Kart.
Right. But that leaves about 24 million units coming from other titles. The earnings report mentions this steady increase in software is driven by a wide variety of titles released by software publishers.
So it's not just a Mario Kart machine. There's a library building up. People are buying other things.
Exactly. It's a solid lineup, as they put it. The ecosystem is functioning. But we cannot ignore the original Switch.
The old faithful. How's it holding up? Is it collecting dust?
Far from it. The report states that original Nintendo Switch software totaled 108.93 million units.
Over 100 million games sold.
Yes.
For a console that's already been replaced.
Yep. Now we have to look at the trend line that does represent a decline. It's down 12.1% year on year.
Which makes sense. People are buying the new thing. Gravity kicks in.
The decline is natural and expected. But the raw volume, over 100 million units, is staggering. It shows the original Switch is still a juggernaut.
Yeah.
It's generating massive revenue. In fact, the report links to a story confirming the Switch is officially Nintendo's best-selling console ever.
Ever. Beating the DS. Beating the Wii.
Officially the best-selling ever. And that legacy install base is why you see numbers like we saw with Pokémon. You can't just turn off a user base that size.
It's like a massive ocean liner.
Yeah.
You can't just turn it on a dime. It's going to keep moving forward just on momentum.
And Nintendo is still supporting it. The report even mentions new Joy-Con 2 colors hitting stores this month in February.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Even the controllers are getting a refresh.
And notice the naming, Joy-Con 2. These are likely for the new system, but it signals the two generations are meant to live side by side for a while.
It really doesn't feel like a dead console.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like we're in a world where two Nintendos exist side by side. You have the premium high-tech experience on Switch 2 and the massive ubiquitous experience on Switch 1.
That is the strategy, a soft handoff. You have the Switch 2 growing rapidly with killer apps like Mario Kart, and the Switch 1 slowly, gracefully declining, but still generating massive revenue.
So if we look at the hierarchy here, it's pretty clear.
Crystal clear.
Mario Kart World is the untouchable emperor of the new generation.
Correct.
Pokémon is the bridge connecting the old world and the new, proving you can sell to both.
Yes.
And Kirby is the hometown hero holding down the fort in Japan.
That is a perfect summary.
You know, it makes me wonder, though, and I want to get your take on this before we wrap up.
Go ahead.
We talked about Mario Kart being bundled.
Yeah.
14 million copies. Basically, if you have a Switch 2, you have Mario Kart.
Right.
And that game isn't something you beat. It has infinite replayability.
It's designed to be evergreen, yes.
Does that hurt the other games?
How do you mean?
Well, if I just spent money on a new console, and I have this massive game that offers hundreds of hours of fun, am I less likely to go out and buy Donkey Kong? Does the dominance of a bundled launch title suck the air out of the room?
That is the provocative question, isn't it? It's the default slot problem. If Mario Kart is the default game you play, does any other game get a chance to be your go-to?
Exactly. Or, looking at it the other way, does bringing 14 million people into the ecosystem mean there are 14 million more people ready to buy Donkey Kong later?
Historically, high attach rates for launch titles tend to be good for the ecosystem long term.
How so?
You need people to own the box before they can buy other games. If Mario Kart wasn't there, maybe fewer people buy the console and Donkey Kong sells even less. It's the whole a rising tide lifts all boats idea.
That makes sense.
Exactly. But for a game launching in that same launch window, like Donkey Kong Bananza, it is certainly fighting an uphill battle for attention. It's competing against a game that the player literally got for free with the box.
It's a tough fight. But hey, 4 million units isn't too shabby. I think Donkey Kong will be all right.
I think he'll survive.
Well, looking at the big picture, it seems like Nintendo has pulled off the magic trick, launched a new system, kept the old one alive, and sold a boatload of software.
It is a textbook transition so far.
I don't know about you, but all this talk about new Joy-Con colors has me eyeing my wallet.
I was just thinking the same thing. One can never have too many controllers.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into Nintendo's numbers. We'll be keeping an eye on whether anyone can ever catch up to that Mario Kart lead.
Don't hold your breath.
We'll catch you next time.